You are listening to Charting Wealth for Monday, the 20th of June, 2016. What do we have going on in the marketplace? Well, we have IYY, which represents the total market in the stock market in the U.S. All the stocks going down 0.32% for the day. We have 3 full 2-day candles representing 6 days of down movement. We had a crossover back on the 15th. That is the 2-day candle on the 15th. We have a good 2-day trend line. Our movement is all well below that line. Over the course of the latest 2-day candle that closed out on Friday the 17th, we have a flip over of the derivative oscillator from green to red. Again, on the 15th is when we had a flip in the MACD crossing over the red signal line. We have 3 red down candles with down wicks. Of course, those are our Hinken Ashi type candlesticks. Those are the most powerful down candles. We've been looking for some backups and talking about those and potential entry points. Of course, we saw in the morning of the 15th some upward movement. We also saw some upward movement. And again, when I say backup, I mean movement in the opposite direction. We saw that strongly in the afternoon on the 16th and again in the morning on the 17th, and then the resumed downward movement in the afternoon. Still don't have a crossover going back up, so don't have what we would call a MACD confirmed crossover moving up, but it does appear to be getting closer to that, the signal line and the blue MACD line coming together on that short chart. That would be a confirmed backup when they cross over going up, and then if they turn back over to crossover going down again to follow the big 2-day trend, that is another potential entry point into a down trade. And remember, they're inverse funds in in all of the various indexes, and gold, you can find inverse funds that track the reverse, which means what? Well, that means that you can make money when something like the S&P 500, as represented by SPY, our next chart, goes down. There are always opportunities in the modern world with exchange-traded funds that do just about anything you want them to do. You want to trade currencies, you want to trade gold, silver, commodities, stocks, indexes of stocks, baskets of stocks like we're looking at now with the S&P 500. It is actually, again, very similar to the IYY, 3 down red candles with down wicks on those red candles. It crossed over going down again on the 15th. The confirmed crossover at that time. If we go back and look at our 4-hour chart, what do we see? Well, we saw a backup again on the 15th, another backup on the afternoon of the 16th, and then down movement throughout the course of the day on Friday the 17th. Actually, S&P 500 was down about 3 times the amount of the total market. S&P 500 down 0.86% for the day. Again, continued downward movement. I will note the derivative oscillator is losing its downward speed, and we're about as far apart as we were at the beginning of the day between the MACD and the red signal line. So the backup has not occurred on the short chart yet. Now we're going to go back to our 2-day chart, and we're going to take a look at the last of our 3 indexes before we get to gold. That is the Qs, QQQ. What does that represent? What baskets of stock is that? That is the NASDAQ 100, the technology stocks, and it, like the other 2 indexes we've looked at, is down. It down over the last 3 2-day candles, 6 days in total hard with down wicks. We see that it crossed over on the 15th, confirmed crossover on the MACD. And about the same time, we saw the derivative oscillator flip over also. All movement is below our 2-day trend line, which is nicely connected. Always like to see 3 candles connected. Remember, when we draw trend lines, bottom up, top down. And we start drawing a trend line We know we have a new trend when we have a crossover, in this case, a crossover going down. For the record, Q's was down 1.42% on Friday. We can see that movement by lots of movement down in the morning. In fact, the bulls were able to pull up some of the strong down movement by the bears, and then followed by more down movement in the afternoon. We've seen a couple of backups so far on the morning of the 15th. We saw it as far as our Hinkin Ashi type candlesticks, and we saw it again on the afternoon of the 16th. So those of you who wanted to practice using the candlesticks to find your backups, you had two opportunities, the best being the one on the 16th. And again, we have the market down 1.42% for the NASDAQ 100. Do note derivative oscillators losing its downward momentum. It's getting smaller. The red rectangular box representing the oscillator of the derivative oscillator. And we continue from the opening to the closing of the day. We've just had the red signal line parallel the MACD, so we don't have a backup or confirmed crossover yet on that short chart. Now, lastly, we're going to go to gold. We're going to go first to our 2-day chart. Gold was up. Of course, the converse of the down movement on our indexes, gold was up 1.29% for the day. Gold has completed its 6th 2-day candle, 12 days of solid up movement in gold on the 2-day chart. Gold crossed over going up back on the 13th. And it did so right about the same time the derivative oscillator flipped over. We again like to see the MACD cross over the signal line and the derivative oscillator flip at the same time. We just have better feelings about the movement being timed correctly if both of our indicators, the MACD, which is our real big indicator, and then if we feel good about our secondary indicator when it crosses over at the same time. Now let's look at what's going on the 4-hour chart. And again, on the 4-hour chart, we are seeing a backup in gold. We saw that occur on the afternoon of Thursday the 16th, and then we saw it occur again on the morning of the 17th. Now again, we use Hinkin Ashi candlesticks. Even though the movement in the market was up 1.29%, our type of candlesticks show you average pace. And it does appear that the signal line and the MACD they actually diverged a little bit, but they were so close together to begin with. Derivative oscillator has already flipped over in the negative. So it does look like it's very close to a backup on that upward movement, market digesting possibly all that upward momentum over those 12 days. Still above, however, the 2-day trend line. And again, watch for continued up movement. Could also cross over going down. We're going to let the charts continue to make the call on all of that for us. But again, use those Hinkin Ashi type candlesticks to really help you find that average pace. Well, folks, that is where the market ended up on Friday the 17th as we go into Monday, the 20th of June. As soon as I finish this recording, of course, I'm going to jump into the weekly review and forecast. That is where we look back at what moved the market over the last week and the events that may be moving into the following week. We go over the weekly charts on all 3 of our indexes and gold. And we also look at the daily chart. It's the only time ever that we look at the weekly, the big chart here at Charting Wealth. And it's good to do once a week because remember, the bigger the wave, the stronger that underlying movement is in the marketplace. The market tends to go in the direction of the big wave, and it's worth looking at once a week, knowing where that is, charting that on your worksheet, making sure that you keep up with that overall. Important. Thank you so much for being with us. You have questions, problems, concerns. We love to hear from you. Lots of great new training on the website, Charting Wealth. Of course, you can find all of our charts there, our daily and weekly reviews. We love to hear from you. Please keep us posted. Let us know what we can do to help you. You want to help us out? Go to iTunes. Subscribe to both of our podcasts, the video weekly and the daily audio. Give us a 5-star rating. Say something nice about us. It helps a lot. Lastly, YouTube. We are trying our best to get up to 1,000 subscribers. We have thousands listen every week, but of course, for every person that subscribes, there are hundreds that just listen or watch. If you'll go to YouTube and subscribe for us, once we hit the mark of 1,000, it's a magical number at YouTube because then we can do proprietary broadcasts on YouTube. But we need to get to 1,000 subscribers. Help us out there too. iTunes and YouTube. Say something nice about us, 5-star rating on iTunes, and subscribe to us on YouTube. Thank you so much. Again, we appreciate you. Hope you have a great week trading from chartingwealth.com.